have Joseph, Danny, and Pam's luggage in your car.
Yes.
Mon has his.
Yes.
So Mon and Rhonda, we're gonna Uber.
Okay.
I'm just trying, if things get harried at the end, I want to just be able. So at the very least, you collect Joseph, Danny, Joseph. Joey. You want to see my babies? Just tell me. You want to see my babies?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
That's her senior portrait. She's 8. Thank you.
Where's she now?
Folsom Lake College.
And what, has
Loving
she picked a major yet?
I think she's going to do English, and she's looking into something in the law field.
That'd be great.
She's going to do an internship at the DA's office. Yeah. She's a smart little cookie and a good girl. Yep. Thank you for asking.
Look at your daughter.
That's one of your students, Wilson Lake College.
Oh, she goes?
She's leaving. Yeah, she's leaving right now.
Okay.
We got 2 action items left.
What? Oh, I never did yesterday. This is Nancy, so she's just in the restroom and then she's going.
Let's have a cat. So,
I figured I'd get people's attention.
7, 8. Oh, you have 8.
We're good, right?
Yes.
We have quorum.
Al drove me crazy. I wouldn't have expected that.
All the way. Imagine what I would have been.
If I get it out now. Good I did know that during the selection process.
There you go.
Oh, God, I'm done.
Yeah, they have.
I was on board with Obama. Day one.
Hey, you came to the light. That's all that matters, right?
Right.
Hair products.
Okay, we're going to bring the meeting of the Board of Governors of California Community Colleges back to order. We held a closed session on pending and potential litigation as well as personnel matter. There are no reportable actions from that meeting. Okay, back to our agenda. Our next item is the Student Success for Basic Skills Program, item 2.6, Vice Chancellor Hope.
Good morning, President Estelano, members of the board, Chancellor Oakley. Per statute and standing orders, I'm required to bring this item to your attention. As the item explains, this is due to an infusion of an additional $30 million to support basic skills instruction. And the formula is really what I'm seeking approval for from the board today, which that formula is divided into 3 parts. Essentially, 50% of the formula is divided by enrollments in basic skills. Those students who are enrolled in basic skills who are also eligible for a Board of Governors fee waiver or the Promise Grant. 25% for students who are enrolled in a pre-transfer course who then move into a collegiate or transfer level course. And then 25% based on self-reported FTES from the colleges for students who are enrolled in sections that are devoted to practices that we are trying to support because they demonstrate improvement. So there are a number of emerging practices that we're seeing in basic skills. Actually, a report just went out today about Grossmont Cuyamaca and some of the things that they're doing to really reform mathematics instruction. And so these dollars help to support those kinds of efforts. And as you know, they're labor intensive and financially intensive, but if they help reduce the number of levels that students need to accomplish in order to get to college or transfer, obviously we want to support that.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Yes, Board Member Belansky. Yeah.
Can you remind me again, or now, of how this money is allocated to the different districts?
So it's allocated according to this formula. The only difference is that there are minimum allocations for colleges who would not meet a minimum of $100,000. So those colleges that are very small, whose enrollment wouldn't tabulate to a point where they would get this kind of support, get that minimum, and then we're going to be applying this formula in order to see what the dollars actually allocate to. The one thing that's the one we can't calculate on our side is the 25% of self-reported enrollment in those sections that have emerging practices. So we still need to look at what that number comes back to be per college. At some colleges, it's very robust and departmental. In other colleges, it might be more singular in learning communities and those kinds of practices.
Any other questions or comments from board members? And I'll entertain a motion. We have no public comment on this item.
Move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Haynes, second by DeLilly. All those in favor? Aye. Any objections? Okay, moving forward.
Thank you.
Item 2.7, the reappointment of Lance Izumi to the Board of Directors for the Foundation for California Community Colleges. Ms. Mills, great to have you.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, President Estolano, members of the board, Chancellor Oakley. This item is to request the board to ratify the reappointment of Lance Izumi to the Board of Directors of the Foundation for California Community Colleges. This will be Lance's third and final term of 4 years on the Foundation board. Many of you may know Lance. He is the current chair of the board of the Foundation for California Community Colleges, and you may also know him as a former Board of Governor member and former Board of Governor president. So he's been a longtime supporter of the California Community Colleges, a staunch supporter of the Foundation, and we look forward to his continued leadership on our board during a period of tremendous growth that we are experiencing that you'll hear a little bit later in our meeting. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
So moved.
I thought I saw Board Member Hawkins do the motion.
Thank you.
And I'll do a
So
second
moved.
with Belansky. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any objections? Motion's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're on to our first reading. First is the nomination of the 2018 board officers. Deputy Chancellor Skinner will take this item.
Good morning. Yes, this item is the nomination of board officers. Pursuant to your standing orders, this is the meeting at which we call for nominations from the board for individuals interested in serving for either as president or vice president, or nominations from your peers. Nominations can also be submitted subsequent to this meeting, anytime prior to the election that will occur at your next board meeting.
So we'll open the nominations for president.
Hey, Madam President, it's my honor to nominate Cecilia Estolano as board members. Some of you know, some of you don't know. I've known her for over 25 years. We both started together in local government, working for a council office, and I've seen her grow, become an expert in being in an environment with a mayor, an expert in law, the leading economic development and redevelopment in Los Angeles, and now here on the educational level. And I just think there are very few women who have accomplished as much as she's accomplished in the short time, in 25 years. I just simply think that the community college system is lucky to have her. So it's my honor to nominate her for president.
I second that nomination, if I may.
Any other nominations? Wonderful. We'll open the nominations for vice president, and I will nominate Tom Epstein for vice president.
I'll second that.
I'm going to take Dalili on a second. Any other nominations for vice president? I'll be a little more eloquent since Valerie made such a great speech. Tom is an amazing, accomplished individual. I first got to know him when he was part of the Clinton administration, one of the Californians that went to Washington and really made a difference and made sure that we had a voice and got some amazing appointments through. He's been just a trusted political advisor to key leaders throughout nationally, and is just a really good and solid individual and fellow, and just a terrific leader. He's been, obviously he had a career in healthcare, which I actually didn't know very much about until we served on this board together. But more importantly, since his retirement from Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Tom has spent a lot of time getting to know this system, has really devoted himself to touring the campuses, to digging in, to going to consultation council, really understanding the nuts and bolts of how our community college system works. And he's just been a tremendous advisor to me, and I think to the chancellor as well. So I would love to serve with him for another year. So we have a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations for vice president? With that, we'll close the nominations for now, although they remain open actually until the vote next meeting, which will be in November. Okay, next item is 3.2, Board of Governors meeting dates. Deputy Chancellor.
So on page 61 in this item are the proposed meeting dates for the coming year. This schedule is modeled on the approach that the board's used in the last couple of years in terms of the timing of the meetings. So this is presented for a first reading. That's into the item.
Any comments or any concerns about any of these dates?
So,
Member Fawn.
I noticed that in this year, in March and May, we had one-day meetings. Does that mean that next year we're looking at two-day meetings according to this schedule?
So this is a really good question. When I got on the board, we always had two-day meetings, and part of my first term as president, I really wanted to see if we could condense those meetings into one day. I think we were successful in some regards. Sometimes it's not possible to do that because we have awards. We have the Rice Awards. There may be some other reasons, like when we do a site visit, as we did today. But it's my hope that as we review the agenda for the board meetings with the chancellor and the vice chancellor, or the deputy chancellor, that we may be able to condense those into one day. That's our hope. They may mean they're full days, but I think it worked pretty well this year, and if folks are still with that program, we'll try our best to do that, because we respect your time. This is a commitment. This is public service, and I know a lot of us have jobs that we need to get back to, so thank you for raising the question. It's scheduled as two-day meetings, but we'll try our best to bring it into one if folks are still good with that.
I asked the question for clarification only, but I personally don't mind meeting for 2 days, so that's just my comment.
Okay. Any other questions? Any issues with the dates? This is the time to kind of raise anything that kind of steps out. What we haven't decided on, and we can talk about in our November meeting, or even later, is where we'd like to do next year's site visit. We came to Orange County this year. I think it was tremendous. We probably are due to either go to the Central Valley or Northern California next year. So maybe folks can think about it, talk about it, come up with some ideas, and then we can maybe agendize for the next meeting so we can get that ball rolling. It takes a little while to really settle on it and then contact the colleges to make sure they're game for hosting us.
Traditionally, that's part of the January agenda, but if the decision's made and ducks in a row for November, there's nothing that says they can't be determined at that point. So.
January it is, Eric, thank you. Okay, that was a first reading, so I'll take a motion on this.
So move.
Okay, Member Fawn? Second by
Second.
Epstein. All in favor? Aye. Any objections? Okay, great. Then, now we are moving into our information items. We're going to go into item 4.3, the renaming of the Board of Governors fee waiver. Paul Feast, I understand, is in Paris?
I am not Paul Feast, so, and I wish I was in Paris.
Yes.
No, actually, I'm glad I'm at Santa Ana College. Good morning. Hi, Rhonda Moore, Interim Vice Chancellor of Student Services, President Estolano, Board, Chancellor Oakley. I have a quick information item on renaming the Board of Governors fee waiver. Paul and his communications folks over the past year have been conducting research with a marketing firm. The fee waiver, although it serves by far the largest number of students in the country as a single program, doesn't have a real good name recognition. And the name, the Board of Governors fee waiver, does not resonate with all of the promise programs that have been folded out nationally. So we started the research to see if there was a possibility of almost like getting credit for the program that has been so successful for so many years. The Board of Governors fee waiver, we fund over $800 million per year to over 1 million students, and over the last 30 years, it's $5.5 billion and 5 million students, so 5.1 million students. It is important, though, that we take the step to fold it into the Promise program and the Promise movement. Ideally, that would have happened 3 or 4 years ago before California started implementing our own Promise programs, but we're doing it now. The fee waiver is common and foundational to nearly all Promise programs that are being formed in California. The name change is kind of the low-hanging fruit, and we will be taking actions over the coming months and years to shore up Promise programs locally and to give more of a state framework for the Promise programs, and building Promise programs into the strategic vision and make them an integral part of guided pathways. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions or comments? Board Member Hawkins.
Thank you, President Estolano. The name is the only thing, Rhonda, that I'm looking at. It says it's the California College Promise Grant was the proposed name here.
Correct.
We only represent community colleges, not privates, not the UCs, not the CSUs. So I don't know.
I think that's a smart question. It's one I asked myself, which is why I think it's pretty smart. The thought is that we will take the lead in California, and Chancellor Oakley's vision is that if we name it the California College Promise Grant, the other systems will follow suit. You know, the CSU and the UC each have their own segmental financial aid award that's kind of foundational to their programs, and we are hopeful that this is the first step for the other segments to follow suit.
We have Vice President Epstein, followed by Board Member Fawn.
Hi. I've heard some feedback about this name change from some of the a variety of people inside the system who have Promise programs who seem to worry a little bit about confusion with the requirements of their Promise program and a fear that it might harm their fundraising, that to think that the state was taking care of this. I know you guys did a lot of focus groups. I was wondering if you could tell me a little something about the focus groups, particularly with college administrators or foundation people, people raising funds for this, to see what you heard?
You know, the focus groups were conducted with college students, high school students, and adults not enrolled in college. The focus groups were not conducted with administrators. We had, the communications department came to a couple of meetings of the financial aid advisory work group, regional representatives work group that we had. The concern about the confusion was expressed. We felt that the win that we would get with shoring up the Promise program with the large influx of money from the fee waiver was worth the risk of the confusion. And I think that there may be some confusion in the beginning. It is going to take a little bit of extra work for the local programs to now rebrand and remessage this. That is one of the reasons why we chose a 2-year time frame for full implementation. So the financial aid award year opens up on October 1st, for 18-19, opens up on October 1st. So some colleges are going to be going toward the start of making the name change to the program, but we're really not looking at a full implementation until 19-20. And we'll have a lot more conversations with local programs about how we think they can limit confusion. It's a good point. It's the most valid of the concerns that were expressed to us.
If I could just add to that, Paul and his team did have a couple of meetings with all the public information officers in the system to talk about this very question, and I know he's not here, but he did get some very positive response from the public information officers. They felt comfortable with the direction and felt that in the long run, the name change would help them leverage the state resources with their local philanthropy. And that in the end is our hope as well, is that we can clearly articulate what the state is investing and then leverage philanthropy to cover the rest. The other reason is that there is already legislation on the governor's desk to create the California College Promise. So we wanted to make sure that we got in front of that as well and created a vehicle that policymakers could utilize if they want to expand the College Promise rather than for it to be even further confused in legislative language. So I've heard the concern as well, and it's been my experience that once things are rolled out and there's consistency in the message, that confusion should subside.
Member Fawn?
I don't know about you all, but as a member of this august body, I'm personally saddened to see the name bearing, grant bearing our board is no longer in place. But on a professional level, I think that we need to send a message to our students by the use of our words, and in this case, by the naming of this particular grant. So I think with this change, we are telling our students that we, representatives of the state, are making a promise on your education. And that you, in turn, should make a promise to yourself about taking your educational pursuit seriously. So yes, BOG is no longer around as a name, but I don't want us to get bogged down on the name BOG and move toward promise. So that's my comment.
Had to be said. Okay. Any other comments from the board? Thank you. That's an information item. We look forward to seeing the rollout. Next is item 4.4, flex learning options for workflows. Hello.
Yes, and as Executive Vice Chancellor Von Quinlivan comes up, just to recap, this is in relation to the governor's request to come back with options for what he termed a fully online college. Executive Vice Chancellor Quinlivan has done a marvelous job at assembling a group of individuals to help think through what those options would look like. And we will bring those options back to you, but we wanted you all to hear an update about where we are with this request.
Thank you. So good morning, President Estolano, Vice President Epstein, and Chancellor Oakley, and members of the board. The objective of this presentation is to help you field questions you may be getting on this governor's request. So we wanted to overview with you the process that we are taking to respond to his request. As the Chancellor mentioned, his request was very specific, asking to establish a community college that exclusively offers fully online degree programs in order to improve accessibility and affordability. And of course, it aligns with your vision that you have adopted, calling for community colleges to better serve working adults in order to meet California's workforce needs. However, we received, clearly there's a lot of considerations that go into this mix. And as we heard reactions from the field and various constituencies, we thought it was best to take a step back and reframe the process and the question. So instead of assuming the answer, what we wanted to do was really look at who are we not serving well with our current system, identify online education models that will reach those students well, determine how California's context factors into the creation of those options, including our existing models like what is being offered through the Online Education Initiative, and then identify 3 to 5 options for the governor, which includes pros, cons, and associated challenges. So our goal is to drive towards that deliverable at the end of November. And the Chancellor has scoped this work to be limited to the space of adults with some college but no certification, or working adults with vocational needs, rather than the students who are coming straight from high school. So this is a largely greenfield, and many of us need to do more work to serve this area in order to get better workforce outcomes. So this work group, the work group that has been formed, many of the names are provided to me by the Chancellor, which includes college leadership, as well as those who are leading our education technology initiatives like OEI, so they're well represented. We also added in perspectives in the adult education space, the immigrant integration space, and a student perspective. Our partners in the Academic Senate provided a number of representatives. We also have a classified staff appointment. We also have representation from the Department of Finance and the Legislative Analyst Office, and then Sandy Freed and myself are also serving on this work group. So we are meeting a few times in order to deliberate and do a lot of ideation sessions. There's also a number of other experts that have been identified, and there are expert interviews being conducted. And we're moving towards identifying the 3 to 5 options, soliciting public comments at the beginning of November in order to bring forth a letter to the governor in the end of November. So that is our timeline.
Member Belansky.
Given that there's still input that needs to happen, will this come back here also to the Board of Governors?
Yeah, the good news is there is a November board meeting, so we will present to you the drafts in November as an informational item, yes.
Member Avalos.
Well, I'm excited about this quite a bit. It seems like it's cutting edge, and we're moving really fast on this. It's probably faster than we ever expected. Obviously, it's a mandate or it's an expectation of the governor that we do so. So I appreciate your stepping back and trying to involve more of the stakeholders. But I look forward to seeing what you have in November.
Thank you.
Member Fawn?
If I may, I guess when the big boss asks you to jump, you probably have to say how high. So I truly applaud you and the Chancellor for moving very swiftly on this request by the governor. But if I may, as you're developing further your plan for this FLOW project, specifically online education, I want to just put a plug in for the educational part of online education. That, like I said yesterday, rigor cannot be compromised. And while the title of the program is Flex Learning Options for Workers, there may be options, there are options that are flexible, but the education provided through an online modality cannot be flexible. It must be solid. So I just want to stress the student learning portion of the online modality. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, Member Walker Griffin.
I'm totally in favor of this because I take online classes and I know the benefits of it, considering that my school, the average age of someone who starts is 22, so there's a bit of a gap between graduating from high school and starting. But I just need a little clarification. It's on page 72, and it states, identity those whom the California community colleges are not currently serving well through traditional education delivery models. Is that like a certain demographics, or is it just like a conglomerate of people? I just need like a little bit more clarification on that.
So the data analysis is looking at how big is the population that have no certificate or degree but are working adults, or so more than they haven't. They may have some college, so may have taken a few courses, but no certificate or degree. So we're looking at that population and then making demographic cuts.
Member Epstein.
I just have a question. We signed this agreement yesterday with the Western Governors, and I see the Western Governors is on this task force. Is the Western Governors model something that we're looking at as a possible comprehensive solution, or how does that interact?
So we retain NCHEMS to bring in a list of experts who are operating fully functional online models. So we heard from the Kentucky system, we heard from Western Governors University, we heard from Arizona State University Online, but there will be more models being brought in. And we've learned everything from how they price, how they provide the student supports, how they work with curriculum and rigor, and the role of staff and faculty. So we're learning about aspects of their model by bringing them in. So it's a little bit too early to determine what we do with all that knowledge, but the idea was to get an assessment of what is out there.
Questions? I think we have one public comment, right, Vice President Epstein?
Julie Bruno.
Good morning, President Estolano, board members, Chancellor Oakley. First of all, the Academic Senate's really very pleased to be involved in this work. We look forward to seeing the recommendations that are developed by the group. There are a couple of things that we'd like for everyone to keep in mind as we move forward, and especially when the recommendations come to this board. We absolutely agree that this population definitely needs to be served, absolutely. We want to make sure that any recommendation that the committee brings forward really that this particular target population would be well served by online education. They come with specific challenges, and so we'll need to support them if that's going to be the target population, but I think we want to make sure that we're matching that problem with this particular solution, and it's a good match. Also, second, that we really build on the work that's already been done in the system with the college, the California Virtual College and the course exchange. We think there's some excellent things we could do there. We also want to make sure that the recommendations that are brought forward are really vetted through the consultation process. I think this was one of those that we really want to make sure that all perspectives are brought forward to hear what the recommendations are and to be able to weigh in. So I think that would be really also very helpful. And finally, one caution. We have worked really hard over the past few years with our colleagues at the Chancellor's Office and our folks in the system to really break down the divide that sometimes can exist between career education and what we would consider non-career education or more sort of traditional transfer programs. We want to make sure that any recommendation that we adopt actually does not do anything to exacerbate that divide. Degrees should never be terminal for any student, and we should always be really making sure that all of our students can continue on their education to be able to continue to achieve as they move into their lifelong careers. So I think that's some of the concerns that the Senate has, but we look forward to the recommendations, and we're very excited about the work. Thank you.
And all these issues have surfaced through the flow group. Yes.
All right, any other comments or questions? We look forward to hearing what you come up with in November. Thanks, Juan. Okay, we're on to item 4.4, the state and federal legislative update. Vice Chancellor Mattoon.
Good morning. Your materials for this update were handed out yesterday morning. They're separate from your board agenda. I held these back this time because, as you probably know, session adjourned on Friday, so I wanted to be able to give you the most up-to-date information with regards to the state updates. I'm going to start with the state legislative update document and just highlight a couple of bills on this document. First, AB 705, which the Chancellor's Office worked on, aimed at improving assessment and placement policies throughout our colleges, passed the legislature on a bipartisan vote and is now at the governor's desk. We're in support of this bill and worked very closely on amendments to allow this body flexibility in interpreting the code sections and establishing regulations to implement. The next bill I'll mention, which the Chancellor already noted, is AB 19 by Assemblymember Santiago. It creates a statewide California College Promise framework. We also worked closely with the author's office on this bill to establish a bill that provides the flexibility to determine what's required of a college to be considered a college promise college, and then would allow us to create a funding formula should any funding be made available to implement this program. Finally, I'm actually just going to mention one more bill on this document, the very last bill, SB 68. I wanted to mention this because yesterday an issue came up surrounding AB 540 students enrolled in adult education programs. One of the recommendations that we included in this specific bill was to clarify that adult education could count towards AB 540 status. So we do think that this issue will be addressed in this legislation. The bill would also allow 2 years of community college to count towards establishing AB 540, meeting the AB 540 requirements. So that one is also sitting on the governor's desk, and we're in support of the bill. The next document is our matrix, which provides all of the bills that we've monitored this legislative session and where they landed. I won't go over this in detail, but if there's any bills on here you have specific questions about, I'd be happy to answer them. I'll pause just for a second to see if there's any questions or comments on the state update. No? Okay, on the federal update, the next document, I'll just highlight a couple of things. We talked a lot yesterday about the president's decision on DACA. The Chancellor and our team will be going out to DC the first week of October to advocate on behalf of our DACA students, as well as a number of other items. The President signed the Forever GI Bill, which expands educational benefits to veterans in August. And then we will continue to monitor the congressional budget deliberations. Both houses of Congress have moved a proposal forward that largely rejects the president's proposed cuts to higher education. There's a couple of important differences between the two proposals around Pell Grants and whether or not we'd see an increase in the next year. Also around funding for programs like TRIO and Gear Up. We'll continue to monitor and advocate to support our students in those programs. I'll just finally mention that the Secretary of Education announced that they will initiate a notice and comment process to revise the sexual assault guidelines that were issued under the Obama administration. We'll monitor that and comment as appropriate.
When does that comment period end? Laura, do you know? Is it in here?
You know, I'll double check on that. Yeah.
Astonishing development, and people need to flood that Federal Register with comments. It's just an astonishing proposal.
Oh, and then I guess the final thing I'll mention is that there's an opportunity right now for the community colleges to recommend a negotiator on behalf of community colleges for the existing committees surrounding gainful employment and borrower defense. And so we'll work to recommend a community college representative that can represent the student's perspective in those negotiations. And then finally, I was just going to highlight that one of the wonderful things I get to do in my role is go to the legislature and show the great work that our different divisions do to advance the programs that we operate. And one of the things we did in September was have a breakfast social sponsored by Senator Connie Leyva in the Capitol basement, where Vice Chancellor Von Tonquinlivan was able to come over and highlight our Strong Workforce program and highlight some of our workforce stars. So I'm just going to pass this around. It's a flyer from the program and shows some of the members that were in attendance. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Member Shaw.
On the federal level, I'm just curious about the strengthening HBCUs. Is that money going to remain, or is it going to disappear?
In the budget proposal, so the next action is that the House and the Senate have to agree to a single budget action, so we'll just have to monitor and see how that progresses.
I mean, does it look good? They have the same number.
How does it look?
There's a lot of support across the board for the program.
Any other questions or comments?
If I could just make a brief comment, I think this legislative cycle, although we're 1 year into the two-year session, Vice Chancellor Mattoon has done an outstanding job of corralling all of the advocates and all of our supporters in the Capitol. So I just want to thank her publicly for doing amazing work. It's hard to see in this document just how much work her office did, but we're fortunate that the staff and the members have great respect for her counsel. So thank you, Laura.
Very much.
Okay, on to item 4.6, the Foundation for California Community Colleges Strategic Plan Annual Impact Report. Ms. Mills.
Thank you. Hello again, President Estolano. Oops. Thank you, Christina. Hi, good morning again, President Estolano, Vice President Epstein, Chancellor Oakley, and members of the board. I'm pleased for the opportunity to be here today to talk to you a little bit about a year in review for the Foundation for California Community Colleges and our outlook for fiscal year 2018. I will be speaking from this PowerPoint that I believe was at your stations. I also want to highlight our general brochure that we left with you as well. And in the back packet of that general brochure is another document that's a fiscal year in review as well. And if you guys are out and about and people are asking, who is the foundation and what do, we are happy to provide you guys with these so that you guys can be our ambassadors as you're out at the colleges and with your constituent groups. So this report is a report against our 2020 strategic plan, A Vision for Success. Our strategic plan is all about how our work supports our colleges, our students, our college foundations, the system as a whole, and then how we make sure that we keep our house in order and invest in our infrastructure to do the great work that we do. A number of common themes that you'll hear throughout this presentation is it's been a tremendous year of growth, We're expanding our impact, expanding partnerships, and we're investing in ourselves so that we can continue to grow. As we look into 2018, you're going to hear more of those same themes, except for I would add that we're going to be looking, taking a really hard look at our strategic plan, all of our programs and services, and making sure that we are aligned with the strategic vision, with the goals of the system, and with the guided pathways framework. So with those key themes, I would like to highlight a few of our past year successes and where we're going over the next year. So goals 1 and 2 are about our students and our colleges, and we kind of look at these goals together because many times the work that we do to support our students helps our colleges and vice versa. So I talked about growth in the beginning. We experienced in our 3 core categories of student success, workforce development, and equity, 44% growth and brought in over $22 million to support these 3 categories of work. We facilitated nearly 100,000 students in work-based learning experiences, and that provided over $1.7 million in student pay. So this is money that students can use for food, for books, for tuition, for living expenses. These are and work-based learning experiences in their field of studies. Through our College Buys program, we increased our savings for colleges, students, faculty, and staff by 38%. That savings totals over $30 million for this past fiscal year. And we did that by adding 15 new College Buys product and service offerings. That was a 29% increase. We added 29% more offerings to College Buys, so we now have a current total of 78 offerings through College Buys. We serve 14,000 faculty, staff, and at-risk students. We provided student mental health and foster youth services. We launched a number of new programs. One is our crisis text line. These little pocket cards are on the table back there. This is a new service, 24/7 text-based confidential assistance for our students. This is available at all 114 colleges. We expanded our Fresh Success program. We now have almost 10 pilot sites, and this helps students who are experiencing food security challenges get access to food stamps and to employment and training opportunities. And we launched another new program this year, the Nonpartisan Civic Impact Project. And I have to say a huge thanks to Member Avalos for helping provide the connection to the funder who funded this important work. In a very short period of time, we engaged 25 pilot colleges, 160 student volunteers, and we registered over 750 new voters through our California community colleges in about 30 days. It was an amazing project, and we're continuing with that project moving forward. As we look to 2018, you can see that top bullet. It's all about aligning everything that we do that serves colleges and students with the vision, the goals, and the guided pathways framework. We're working with Vice Chancellor Vontan Quinlivan to develop what we're calling the Career Experience Portal. So taking all of our workforce services and bundling them together in a package that will specifically support our California community colleges and students and specifically address our strong workforce recommendations. We're really looking forward to our continued work with the Chancellor to leverage our higher ed partnerships and continue to expand College Buys. There are a number of grants and contracts that are piggybackable that would work beautifully for the California community colleges with a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of partnership. And the Chancellor has been a really strong advocate for that for us in that program. And of course, we want to continue our work to support these historically unrepresented students and student mental health, foster youth, veterans, and other areas where we can support our students to promote their economic mobility. When we talk about our work around our foundations, what's really important in this area is that we not compete with what happens at the local level. We really are here to support their work, and it doesn't make any sense at all for us to try to cannibalize what happens at the local level. So you'll notice as I talk about what we do, we don't do a lot of what I'll call traditional fundraising, people-to-people fundraising. Of course, if there's a big fish out there that wants to make a big splash in California, we want to talk to them, and we would work with our local college foundations to do so. But for the most part, we leave that local cultivation to the local colleges. But we do a lot of work with our local college foundations, and we do that through helping to fund and staff the network of California community colleges. So we provide direct financial and staffing support for the network. They have a 25-member board of professionals throughout the state. This year we invested not only in ourselves, but we also invested in the network. We brought in new leadership to increase our capacity to support their work. We've also done some work this year to increase our engagement of CEOs and CBOs, and really understanding the importance of fundraising and investing in fundraising at their local level. We've also facilitated a number of strategic conversations, both with the Chancellor and with Paul Feast and the Chancellor's office, to talk about how can we engage our local foundations in conversations around alumni engagement, statewide communications campaign, and how do we really provide them with the tools and resources to help them be more successful. As we look to 2018, with our new leadership investment that we've made, we want to spend some time developing a robust strategic plan for the network, and we want to make sure that strategic plan is, again, aligned with the vision, aligned with the goals around guided pathways, and with the goals, the system goals. We're also looking forward to our continued partnership with the Chancellor to work with our local college foundations to think about what statewide strategies we can engage them in. Alumni engagement, implementation of college promise programs, and other initiatives that might benefit from local college foundation involvement. When we talk about the system, we're talking about expanding and diversifying resources for the Chancellor's priorities, the Chancellor's office priorities, and your priorities. And we're also talking about helping to build capacity for the Chancellor's office. So some of the key accomplishments in this area, we provided over $210,000 in direct support to Board of Governors and Chancellor's office priorities. This money funds things that just simply would not be possible through the state budget. This may not seem like a large amount of money, but it's about 20% of our net income, and so it is an important part of our budget and something that makes a big impact, because it's something that it's activities that wouldn't otherwise be possible. We're really excited about our partnership with Chancellor Oakley. I think I said this to President Estolano last night. Chancellor Oakley has been the most engaged chancellor in our work in my 9-year tenure with the foundation, and we're really seeing tremendous success. So we've worked directly with Chancellor Oakley on a number of projects over this past year, and we're continuing that momentum. We've brought on Executive Director Sandy Freed for the Success Center, who has been a tremendous hire for us and is helping us really build out that collaboration and partnership between the foundation and the Chancellor's office, so that we are truly one big happy family, all working together towards one kind of North Star. We helped bring in funding for the Vision for Success. We're managing funding for California Guided Pathways. We helped bring in funding for Project Flow that you heard Vice Chancellor Von Quinlivan talk about earlier. So that partnership, we're really, really excited about. This next slide, I'm not going to read this to you. Our partnership with the Chancellor's office is better than ever, and I say that every year, but it just keeps getting better. We're continuing to work together on more and more projects, sustaining the projects, year over year, and then continuing to add to those projects as we move forward. And our goal is really to help support the capacity of the Chancellor's office and help bring in resources to do work that they're just simply not resourced to do. And so we're really excited about that work as well. As we look to 2018, again, it's about continuing to expand that capacity, continuing to focus on our college buys program and those partnership opportunities with our higher education partners. We're working on building out some space in the building to, again, help the Chancellor's office enhance collaboration. The Chancellor's office works with colleges all throughout the state on statewide initiatives, and so we're helping to build out a collaboration space where those folks can come in to Sacramento and have more kind of centralized meetings and more oversight. So we're excited about that as well. We want to continue to partner directly with Chancellor Oakley and leveraging his relationships and his really desire for change and reform to bring in outside resources to the colleges. I think the funders love reform. The funders love what California is doing right now, and I think it's we need to really stay in tight partnership to take full advantage of that. So we appreciate his role in that, and we've increased our commitment to support Chancellor's Office and Board of Governors activities to $300,000. That's about a 20% increase over our prior commitment, and about a 40% increase over what we've done actuals last year. So I'm going to end with infrastructure, and we cannot do all of this work unless we invest in ourselves, and we think we're a good investment, and we've seen return on investment when we've invested in our own organization. And so over the past year, we've been kind of looking at our back office. We've been growing programs like crazy, and we've got to make sure that things like payroll and HR and IT are all there to support our organization. So we've done a lot of investment in our back office support. We've also done a lot of investment in our people, the people that we have. We provided over 100 hours of training and professional development to make sure that we're continuing to grow our employee base and provide promotional opportunities. We're really proud of our employee survey scores that measure engagement, alignment, and morale. We've consistently scored averaging above 4 out of 5 on our employee satisfaction score, and I think that that lends to our success. Happy employees bring successful outcomes. And so what does all this translate to as far as numbers? So over 2017, we had another record year. We were awarded over 130 grant and contract proposals with a 91% application success rate. So that means if we've got a funder and an idea, 9 times out of 10, we can bring that across the finish line to bring resources into the system. It's phenomenal. I've got a chief advancement officer and a grants development director. I got this powerful team of 2, and these guys are unbelievable at using their resources, partnering with the chancellor, partnering with the vice chancellors, partnering with our outside partners to really build out our capacity to do this work. So that resulted in over $45 million in new multi-year funding streams. That included a $14.5 million renewal of the smog check referee contract, which was a big win for us and really illustrated how another state agency, the Bureau of Automotive Repair, really understood and appreciated the value of the partnership with the California community colleges and the efficiency with which we could run a program on their behalf. So that was a huge win for us. For the 2017 year, from a revenue perspective, we generated over $38 million in total revenue for the single year. That was a 23% increase over prior year, and we run a lean shop. 85 cents of every dollar that comes into the foundation goes right back out into program and service delivery. And something that's near and dear to my heart, we are continuing to grow our nest egg because it doesn't always go up. Sometimes things come down, and we want to make sure we secure our future. So our operating reserves are now $4.3 million, which is a healthy about 10% of our annual operating budget. So as we look to 2018, it's all about aligning with the vision, aligning with the goals, aligning with guided pathways. 2018 marks our 20-year anniversary. Wow. And so we're really going to be looking at ways to leverage that 20-year anniversary to enhance our brand and really continue to position our organization as that go-to hub. Continuing to look at infrastructure, risk management. As you continue to grow and continue to be successful, there's more and more risk, so we need to make sure we're protecting our asset. I talked about building out space in our office for the chancellor's office. We also need space for our folks, so we'll be we're doing that together, and we'll be expanding our footprint there in Sacramento. We want to maintain our happy employees. Happy employees lead to successful outcomes. And from a numbers perspective, we are budgeting to generate over $42 million in total revenue. That's 18% growth over prior year and 45% growth over a 2-year period. Our biggest challenge right now is keeping up. We're answering the phone and saying, yes, we can do that. But it's just been incredible and exciting and invigorating. And of course, we want to maintain our reserve number for that nest egg for the future. So in summary, we're really proud of the year that we just had, significantly increased year-over-year impact. We beat or achieved virtually all of our annual plan metrics. We've got an amazing partnership with the new chancellor. Our alignment with the system needs and priorities and vice chancellors is amazing. A record year of new business opportunities, and we're investing in ourselves, which we think is a good investment. Over the next year, we're looking for another almost 20% growth year over year. That alignment that you've heard me say a couple of times. Continuing to work with Eloy to bring in new money. And then why are we all here? To accelerate paths to economic and social mobility and reduce barriers for opportunity for all of California. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Ethan. Member Fawn.
Thank you, Keitha, for that impressive survey of the accomplishments and the goals for the next year. And it looks like in the 2017 key accomplishments, you've collaborated with the Chancellor's Office on a number of things from fusion to GIS mapping, priority enrollment, and all this stuff. And in light of yesterday's request on data disaggregation for the API community, I'm, again, just wondering aloud here whether if the Chancellor's Office may make a push on this, that somehow your foundation in collaboration with the Chancellor's Office, given the resources, whether it's through the Success Center or other apparatus in the foundation, that you can help the Chancellor's Office kind of address this issue that was brought up on API data disaggregation. So I would appreciate that very much.
Yeah, of course. I think, you know, data is something that a lot of people are interested, including a number of funders. So I could see that as a potential where we could try to bring in some outside resources to help. And we'll absolutely work with the Chancellor and his team to kind of vet that out a little bit and see if we can, you know, find some funders who might be interested in that type of thing.
Member Belansky, followed by Member Shaw.
It's just a request for later, but when the career portal is up and running,
yes,
I'd like to know.
Fabulous. Oh, we will absolutely let you know.
And the other thing I'd like to know more about, but not right here at another time, is about the funding available for student mental health services.
Yeah.
And how the colleges go about applying for that. And
Perfect. Why don't we go have lunch and I'll talk to you more about our student mental health program. Perfect.
Member Shaw.
What are the sources of your new funding?
So we are about 20% fee for service. So that's our college buys, our nursing resource center, and our kind of our career experience portal assets. We're probably 30 to 40% partnerships with other agencies, both federal and state. So we have partnerships with the Bureau of Automotive Repair, the Mental Health Services, a number of other, ARB, Air Resources Board, so a number of other state agencies that are looking to get connections to the California community colleges, and federal as well. I think our Fresh Success program is funded through federal, and then the balance comes through philanthropy, which are mostly large national foundations, statewide and national foundations.
The one this specifically is assisting us in the next year, in the coming year, like the Irvine Foundation or?
Yeah, we have a very diverse array of funders. We probably have it's probably pushing 100 different funders, and it's everyone from the Gates Foundation, the Irvine Foundation, College Futures Foundation.
But is there a prominent one?
There's really not. I mean, there's really not. It's all across the board. We have a number of funders that are funding us for a number of things. I probably have 10 grants right now from the Irvine Foundation for different things. I have a couple of grants in the hopper from the Gates Foundation on a couple of different things. And I think, you know, we position ourselves, I kind of describe ourselves as a quiet little storm. We're this hub, and we, you know, kind of bring together all sorts of statewide activities. And so a lot of times the funders don't really focus on the fact that they're funding the foundation, you know, for a number of different things, that they're funding discrete projects, and we're that administrator. And so it's really diverse, and that's part of our strategy, is that we don't want to become reliant on any single funder, any single funding stream, and we're always looking for new funders. And we've got a bunch of family foundations that are funding, you know, specific projects, so it's really across the board.
And one last question. Out of the 114 campuses, does everybody have a foundation?
I don't think everyone does. I think nearly everyone does, and that the ones that don't, we try to stay connected to, that when they, you know, get the resources to do so, we help them, you know.
Do we provide technical assistance for some of the ones that might be floundering?
Yeah, that's a good question. Part of our struggle with that is that because we don't compete with what they do, we don't really have the expertise for what they do as far as like the traditional community-based fundraising. So it's hard for us to come in and provide that technical advice. But what we do is that we rally the board of the network of California Community College Foundations, and we try to connect those colleges with their peers so that the people who really know that work in the community can help kind of advise and guide.
Thank you.
Member Haynes.
So can you speak a little bit more expansively on the role of the network?
Sure. So the network of California Community College Foundations, they are a statewide organization. It's a membership organization, and it's made up of foundation executive directors from throughout the state. So any college and any college foundation can become a member. We do have college members who are starting up that don't really quite have a robust foundation. The college president will sometimes join the network to try to get access to those to the resources. There's a 25-member board that's made up of college executive directors, and they're about advocating for the importance of investing in fundraising in the California community colleges, providing professional development both to foundation executive directors and college leadership, CEOs and CBOs, and then providing networking and best practice sharing among the local college foundations.
Keitha, thank you very much for your presentation. I think it was very enlightening. I sit on the board, and it's just been incredible to see the growth of the organization and the people that you have on board. And just the year over year, 20% growth each year. To me, it feels like there's an opportunity at statewide to bring in more money, right? And to really make an impact. And one of the things we talked about yesterday was the needs that we have in the system. And I think there's people at the foundation level and the corporate level who really want to invest in California. Mm-hmm. And it's evident that it's happening. So we're at a crossroads here where I feel like there could be a crescendo of opportunity as we're expanding. So to us, we should look at Keitha's organization as an opportunity to really think about how we can bring more money to really help our students.
Thank you, Member Avalos, and thank you for your service on the board. Member Perry is also a member of our board, and we really appreciate her participation as well. But we see all of you as advocates for our work, and if you guys have connections or folks that you think you have an idea or someone that you think that might have an interest in supporting us, please make that introduction. It doesn't have to be fully baked. That's part of what we do. Go have lunch, have a conversation, try to understand kind of what whoever is trying to accomplish, and we try to connect those dots, and we really rely on advocates like you out there and your contacts to help do our work.
Thank you, Keitha. It was a great presentation, and thank you to all your staff. They do an amazing job. Thank you. Okay, we are at my favorite part of the meeting, board member reports. So, as always, they're only optional. Don't feel compelled.
I didn't.
I actually had oversight on my part. In my president's report, I really should have acknowledged that we have our new student member, Alex Walker-Griffin, who in this first meeting, really showed his stuff. I mean, really on top of the issues, asked some terrific questions, and very confidently expressed his opinion on a number of issues. So let's start with Alex. If for no other reason, just you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're going to school, what are you studying, what are your aspirations, and then if you have anything to report, please go ahead and do so.
Okay. Well, thank you for the wonderful remarks. I do appreciate it. My name is Alexander Walker-Griffin. I'm the newest member of the board. I attend Contra Costa College. It's up in the Bay Area, about 20 minutes north of Oakland. And I'm a political science major. Surprise, surprise. What are my aspirations in life? My biggest goal is to be a member of Congress. Pretty abstract for someone who's a skateboarder. I get that a lot. But as far as board reports, I can't remember everything that I've done since I've been appointed, but I can think of a couple things. Went to several DACA events, couple hosted in my school, as well as around the community. People would invite me, and I couldn't say no to that. Went to a couple of advocacy events, one of which was at the Capitol, and it was hosted through my buddy who's actually in the Michigan State Legislature. It was a bunch of kids from around Sacramento, and it was focused on them advocating, and he told me to come through, so I was like, okay, I'll slide on over. And that's all I can think of at the moment right now.
Member Dalili.
Very quickly, I just wanted to welcome Alex to the board. It's been a pleasure working with him, and the day after his appointment, he's been giving me calls, so his nose has been to the grindstone. I want to give a big show support to all our students that are dealing with DACA issues and all our undocumented students. It's been an honor to be on the Quick Response Committee. President Estolano, your leadership is remarkable. Chancellor Oakley, we're in good hands, and to all our students that are dealing with these issues, our board is doing everything we can.
Member Fun?
Also quickly want to welcome Alex to the board. I know that your ambition is to be in Congress, but this board here is very collegial compared to the 535 members of the legislation at the federal level. And I don't know what Mario is, but I will miss his calm demeanor and eloquence as he, in his reports, as he throw big numbers at us in terms of finance. But I look forward to seeing him in my district. We're only 10 minutes apart. Thank you.
I have nothing to report.
Yeah, I just wanted to start. I've raised this before, but there's been a lot of talk at this meeting about mental health services and the lack of mental health services. And I think it's important that the colleges have an opportunity to help all of their students get health coverage virtually for free by encouraging them to sign up for Medicaid or for heavily subsidized coverage on Covered California. I think that needs to be institutionalized as part of the enrollment process, the counseling process, because the statistics show that a lot of young people who are eligible for free health coverage are not getting it. And that would go a long way toward helping people that are in need of mental health services without putting the burden onto the campus to actually hire somebody to do it. So that's something I really wish we could discuss at more length sometime and figure out if there's a way. I know there's some administrative burden to that, but it's free money, and it could help a lot of students, and so I think we should look at that. Just real quickly, I want to welcome Alex. Also, I'm not sure why he wants to join the lowest prestige industry in the country, the members of Congress. And I'm going to miss Mario. I think I made my points clear with Mario yesterday. I don't know where he is. I just wanted to say quickly, I attended the Consultation Council, which was very interesting for the first time. Also had the opportunity to go to the career education launch on the Capitol steps that day. Attended one of the DACA committee meetings, and I attended the Promise Conference where Eloy and the other leaders of California higher education spoke. Very enlightening and enthusiastic conference that was filled to the brim with colleges all over the state.
Member Haynes.
So I too attended first, welcome Alex, regardless of where you want to go professionally. And then I also want to welcome Mario to the Los Rios Community College. Sorry, had to say it. I also went to the College Promise Conference, and it was wonderful to see all of the segments represented on the stage. I realize that it's symbolic, but symbolism does have a place in the work we're doing and trying to do together. I attended the Equity Conference. It was the 4th annual. I've attended 3 of the 4, and each Equity Conference builds on the next one without leaving anyone out where it's their first Equity Conference, and I think we need to continue to do that. I also am a member of the California Community College Board of Trustees. I was asked to give a presentation on the strategic plan, and I have to say that it was very well received. And so there's a lot of enthusiasm by the trustees. And what I said to them, so that I'm put on record of having said it, was that the success of both pathways and the success of the strategic plan really needs to be at the forefront of the leadership on our boards. They set the tone, they set the stage, and they do have a very significant role to play. I also, the Chancellor appointed me to the State Board of Education, Board of Governors, CTE Pathways Advisory Committee. We, I think, have met 4 times, and I'm pleased to be there. It's very clear that we really, this is an opportunity for us to talk both what's happening with regard to pathways and regard to career education at the community college level, and sort of scaffold what we're doing with what K-12 is doing. There is a lot of work, and there is a lot of what they're trying to do and what we're trying to do that's parallel. What we'll have to figure out, and as I talked to Vaughn, the scaffolding of how we fund. Our funding mechanisms are very different, but where there's a will, as my father used to say, there's a way. So we have to sort of figure out the way. I also want to mention that, that I attended the Common Concert in Sacramento. This was a free concert. Everybody was younger than me. Everybody was younger than me. Scott Budnick, who is not here, was named multiple times in the work that he does with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. So he was one of the folks that sort of helped precipitate this. This is a concert that had about 9 cities. So all of these young people, the young people that we want sort of on our campuses, they were there in mass, and in Sacramento, it was anywhere from 35,000 to 45,000 folks. But the messages, they got the messages along with the music. And the messages were powerful. So we got to figure out how to make certain that our messages are powerful and they're getting to the right constituency groups. They're there. They're absolutely there. We just have to figure out how to connect with them. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Member Shaw.
I also attended the CTE Workforce Pathways meeting, and it's always interesting and challenging. In the spirit of Board Member Avalos, Board Member Perry and I visited West LA College with President James Limbaugh, and we can't meet your number. I think you visited 50, but we're sort of on our way at number 3. And then in terms of Alex, our new member, you know, by the time you become a congressman, maybe things will change. So don't give up.
Member Hawkins.
Thank you. Thank you, President Estolano. I too like to welcome Alex. I look forward to working with you. I see our future in the students that I've had the pleasure to work with, and that is something that's very good and near and dear to my heart. I had the pleasure at the beginning of August to be the keynote speaker to over 100 classified professionals in our community college system. The suggested conversation was left up to me, so I chose to discuss the role of classified professionals in our Guided Pathways initiative, our strategic vision, which had just been released at our July meeting, and also something that has been long coming, but the proposed changes to Title V regulations as it talks about staff development for classified professionals and administrators. So that was well received, not necessarily my most comfortable avenue, but the group was very well pleased with the Board of Governors and our leadership of the system. Have a safe trip home, everybody.
I'm also on the California Workforce Pathways Joint Advisory Committee. We're the 3 Board of Governors members, and then there's 3 State Board of Education members and a whole number of people who are there to support this. Last Friday's meeting was really valuable because it provided a lot of presentations on things out in the field already that are working to put students on pathways and provide them an opportunity to find a way to a career and a really solid job. I mean, it even went from hearing again from Santa Barbara about get focused and stay focused to even a particular individual from Salinas High School about the career preparation programs they have at Salinas High School and how they lead into college. It's really very amazing. The ultimate goal of this group, though, is to write a plan for the Perkins funding. The other thing I recently was asked to be involved in, which is kind of nice to be asked. The Academic Center for the California Community Colleges has a coding alignment project where people will go out once colleges ask to look at how colleges have particularly coded career classes, career programs, only to discover as you keep doing that, that a lot of colleges have not really put the time and effort into coding correctly. And as a result, they're not going to get the funding they're entitled to. So we went to Contra Costa recently for the whole district, and it was amazing just how much they could improve the coding. End of my report, except to say welcome, Alex.
Thank you. I think now it's time for public comment. You guys are busy. Whew, these are great reports. Vice President Epstein, what
So
do
we have 3 public comments, and you could all come up now. Stephanie Martin, Megan Pacheco, and last but not least, Julie Bruno.
Good morning, Chancellor Oakley, President Epstein, and the board members. I just wanted to take an opportunity. I know that I saw you all in July up in Sacramento, and knew that you were coming back down here for your board meeting, and wanted to make sure that got out in front of you, recognizing that you all have a massive agenda and mission in front of you, and working with what I do for my job is work with individuals with disabilities who actually go to your community colleges and are successful because of the supports that we provide. And so I want to make sure that, again, I'm out in front so that you understand the wraparound supports that we do provide and how it does change the lives and the trajectory of the lives of the individuals with specific disabilities, whether they're learning disabilities or on the spectrum. And I could go on forever, and I could tell you exactly what it is, but I think that I'd really like to have Megan tell you a little bit about herself and go ahead, Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Pacheco. I would like to say thank you to the Board of Governors for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of the college students with disabilities. I'm 21. I've been at Silly for 3 years. I currently pursuing a certificate for fasting merchandising at OCC. Before Silly, I tried to college. It was not successful because the program I was did not support my needs. In 2015, I joined Silly, and they helped me with tutoring, IRS stuff, cooking, socials, whatever you need, they can help. I would like to speak to the board and the facts as to the community about how post-secondary programs for all the students just like me. So the right support can find a great pursuit. I would like to invite you to visit CLA today at 1, and we will have information directly for you if you need it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So I don't know if everybody understood Megan, but what I think is important for you to know is that she did attend community college, and she was not successful, and she dropped out, but she also understood that she had a drive and a mission and a vision of her own. And in order to make that mission and vision come true, she recognized that there were ways that she could do this with some extra support. And I think what we do, my goal is to offer our supports as a resource for you, whether it's for you just to come and take a look at what we do, how we do it, the way we do it, but most importantly, why we do it and the difference that it makes. We are college living experience. We provide support services for students who attend many community colleges in California: Monterey Peninsula College, Orange Coast College, Coastline Colleges, and all throughout. We also provide supports for young adults who are going to universities, and so we do see a transition. So they are making that transition from the community colleges into the four-year universities with those additional supports. And so as you move forward in looking at how to more than adequately support your students in moving forward, please recognize that we're here as a resource, and we're absolutely willing to do what we can to help you move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, good morning again, board members. Just three quick things. First of all, our plenary session is coming up in November, November 2nd through the 4th at the Irvine Marriott Hotel. We've just pinned down our keynote speaker as of yesterday, which would be President Estolano, so we're really excited to have her come and talk to faculty. So please, you are all more than welcome. We would love to have all of you there. Two other things. I just want to thank Interim Vice Chancellor Jake Knapp. I kept calling him Vice Chancellor Jake Knapp, hoping he would just sort of stay in the position, but he has been really fantastic to work with, and we formally request that he be officially assigned to the Academic Senate, so we can just keep calling him with all of our issues. And I know Mario snuck out to catch the earlier flight. I think this is just going to be par for the course with him from now on. But I also wanted to thank him as well. He was collegial and collaborative. He has been fantastic to work with. And Member Haynes, Member Fawn, please know that if he is ever out of line at Los Rios, I am happy to mobilize all the faculty to just put him back on the straight and narrow. So, thank you.
Okay, I think that concludes our business today. Thank you all, everybody. We're back in Sacramento in November. Thank you. We're adjourned.
What are you going to do about that?